Hello and welcome to ACS Golf, and today's review, which has been released on a Friday, which can only mean one thing: it is a brand new club, and that is the case, and it is this, the Wilson Staff Dynapower driver. So I picked up the titanium version. Now technically the titanium version should be more suited to my swing speed, which on average is around 98 miles per hour. I think I could technically get away with the carbon, but if I probably went for a fitting, they'd probably try and put me into this. However, there could be a potential issue with that, and I'll comment on that at the end of this video. But wanted to pick it up because I'm a huge fan of Wilson Staff, because they produce some really good stuff, generally for a cheaper price. I tested the Wilson Staff D7 driver, loved it. It was a lot of fun to hit. I did that last year. Check out the channel for that review. So I really wanted to get my hands on this, especially the fact that when this was released last year, it is a still current model, but it was released last year. All the reviews were really positive. So I needed to get it, put it in my own hands and give it a try for you guys. So as always, what we're going to do is going to have a closer look at this club, which, let's be honest, they've done a really good job with the looks. Get back here, we'll go through all the technology, then we'll get down to the driving range, I'll throw some figures at you, and then we'll come back here for the ACS Golf Scale. Okay, let's have a closer look at this club. So there you go, and a great looking club. It really is. Also, I love that. I love that matte sort of effect on the top there. Much prefer that over your sort of, your glossy tops, which, because I think sometimes in the sun they can be a bit blinding. So to have a matte top, I think it's perfect. Really do like it. Cobra Dark Speed I use at the moment has the same sort of feature. No black and red. Really good looking club. And I have to say as well, really nice looking head cover. Look at that. Really nice. I mean, premium wise, feels premium on the outside, definitely, but I feel like they could have put maybe a little bit more sort of fluffiness inside, because it feels quite bare inside. But overall, great looking club and great feeling on the outside. So let's get into the technology that is in this club. So as I mentioned, this is the titanium version. There is a carbon version, which is the idea is for your better player, not as forgiving, tends to be a bit more low spinning for basically your faster swing speeds, while your titanium is sort of the version across the board for your sort of more average players. So overview, the new adjustable Dynapower titanium drivers feature 16 gram, there you go, rear weight and a CG, central gravity position low and back for maximum stability, higher launch angles and a neutral to draw bias. The six-way hosel allows for easy loft and spin adjustment. So there you go, straight off the bat, be aware this is a draw bias driver. For someone like me who naturally always has a draw, it can cause some issues. So do be aware of that. And obviously if you have a slice, this could help straighten you out, but it won't fix it. All these draw bias drivers, etc., will help with a slice, but they will never fix it. The only way to do that is to change the swing by lessons or videos, or however you do your sort of training. Now going on to the adjustable hosel, quite good here. So you can see around here, very simple, to be fair, the way they're calling it. You can increase the degrees of this by 2. So this is a 10.5 degree head. You can go up to 12.5. Or I can take it down by 1 degree, so I can go down to 9.5, and you have sort of those 0.5 incremental increases. But it also does change the light with a lot of these things, so do be aware of that. Going to the next bit of technology, so the Dynapower AI. Dynapower AI analysed thousands of permutations to find the perfect thickness for each section of the club face, resulting in fastest ball speeds and maximum forgiveness. Perfect. A lot of these clubs now all variable face thickness of faces across the face, to really aid with forgiveness and keep that ball speed up. Forgiving higher MOI head design, rear weighting produces a higher MOI driver head with a deep rear CG that delivers a forgiving higher launch angle to the neutral bias we've already mentioned. Already gone with a 6-way adjustable adapter as well. Specifications, so the shaft is a TT Hazardous Smoke Red RDX shaft. Here it is. Really fan of the shaft actually. I have it in my hybrid, so the hybrid version, but good shaft. Obviously, it is a hazardous. Really happy with it, and it tends to be a little bit more high launching and mid spin. So do be aware of that. Lamkin crossline grip 360. So there you go. Now just going into the details a little bit more about this. So with the titanium, you could get a 9-degree head, 10.5-degree head, and a 13-degree head, which shows again is the more forgiving version. You can only get it in left-hand at 10.5 degrees, though. You can't get it left-handed 9 and 13, so be aware of that. 460 head, as you'd expect. So CC. Swing weight normally is a D2, with a carbon is a D3. I mean, I did feel this was very, very light, so do be aware of that. With a carbon, by the way, you got an 8-degree head you can get, a 9, a 10.5, and a 12. Again, with the right hand and left hand, you can only get the 9-degree. So be aware of that. So there you go, as they say there. Now, coming down to the titanium in this shaft. So they're basically saying if you increase the loft or decrease the loft, it is going to close or open the face. So 1-degree loft increase equals 250 RPMs of spin, they say, and 7 yards of direction. So 1 degree, they say, will go 7 yards further left. 1.5 degrees, they say, will go for 10.5 yards further left. 2 degrees, 14 yards further left. 0.5 degrees will go 2.5 yards right, because you're opening up that face, and 1 degree, 7 yards right. I did fiddle around with it a little bit to see if it did affect it, but obviously with these things, you can really dial in your shot, and they did change a little bit. Did I think it changed 14 yards? Maybe not personally, but anyway, I'm sure some people out there who tried it would maybe find that difference. So there you go. There's all the technologies in this club. Now let's get to the driving range and then come back here for the ACS Golf review. So here we are down at the range. Now for me, driver on average, I sort of want to carry around the 225 mark and total distance 250. Now with this Dynapower, I was getting an average carry of 219 yards, total distance 243 yards, ball speed of 146 miles per hour, launch angle 11 degrees and height 24 feet. Also swing speed, I was actually swinging it 96.2 miles per hour, which is a bit lower than I'd normally be, about 98. And I think it's down really to shaft being a little bit too flexible for me and really sort of stopped me from putting in full power. However, I'd still expect these results, to be honest, be a little bit better. When I did really catch it, I had a carry of 230 yards, total distance 259 yards, and a ball speed of 148 miles per hour. But then I feel if I caught, say, a tailor-made with that type of shot, we've sort of been looking at sort of more that sort of 270, 280 total distance. So I was a little bit disappointed with the distance. However, Forgiveness Club was very good. I will say overall it was quite draw bias. You can get in the low shots and shape it if you want to, but be aware that it is very draw bias, and if you change it, it can become even more. So there you go. Some interesting figures, to be honest. I mean, I will say that this shaft, even though I'm actually pretty sure I have the same shaft in my 5 wood. I do have the same shaft in my 5 wood, so exactly the same, and regular as well. But with this head and this shaft, it just felt way too light for me. Way too light, and it's a little bit whippy, and I didn't have that much control on it. Don't get me wrong, I have tried regular shafts before, and they're a little bit more stable, but for this, the whole package for me was just, I didn't really know where the club head was going, so I didn't feel like I could put a full swing on it, so full gas, as they say, to get up to that sort of 98 miles per hour and above that I normally do. So on average, I was around 96.2 miles per hour swing, which affected the results a bit, but not a huge amount, I don't think, personally. So if we go into the ACS Golf Scale, so remember, we've got distance, feel, looks, price, forgiveness, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. So for distance, I'm looking for, on average, for a total distance of 250 yards, carry over that 225 yard mark. And I was well below that. Also ball speed, ball speed I've been looking at around that 150 miles per hour. And I was down at 146 miles per hour. Now, don't get me wrong, I had some really few good hits with it. I'd really caught out the middle. I had one where it was an average of 230 yards carry, 259 yards total distance, 148 miles per hour. So really happy with that. But I know if I had tailor-made in my hand, such as the Sim 2 or, you know, the Stealth or Stealth 2 like last year that I played with all last season, I know if I hit that type of shot and managed to get that swing right and everything like that, I'd be looking more sort of that nearly that 280 mark, you know, 270, 280. So definitely a little bit down from what I would hope. Don't get me wrong, this isn't the main distance one. The carbon is the one that sort of really goes there. And reading the reviews as well, if you check out all the reviews online, a lot of them, you know, it was like when I tested these, it was like 20th or something. So it's not a monster when it comes down to distance. Distance isn't bad, you know, hit near that 250 mark quite a few times. Like I said, when I really got out the screws, I did get it above that 250. But on average, you know, you could again say it was down to the swing being out a little bit slower, but still the ball speed and everything, you know, just wasn't quite hitting the mark for me. So distance wise, out of 5, I've actually given it 2.5 out of 5. I just wasn't getting the distance I'd want from it. I know it's titanium header. I know it isn't their longest one, but still, a lot of forgiving drivers such as this, I do get a little bit more distance out of. I mean, such as, you know, the pings. If I'm just having a quick look at here, no G42 Max was I marked as a 3, so a little bit more distance. The G400 Max was again marked high, a little bit more distance there. So, you know, and they're really, really ultimate forgiving drivers. So just a little bit down from what I was hoping for, to be honest, when it came down to distance. But again, 2.5 out of 5 isn't that bad. You know, if you've got a slow swing speed or something, you want it, you know, you're still going to get decent enough forgiveness. Am I going to notice this if I take it out on the golf course? Probably not hugely amount. Yes, I might be like, oh, I'm pretty sure I hit that really well and it's a little bit shorter than I expect, but nothing huge, you know. And this is a thing when you're testing things at the range, you know, you do get a very black and white picture. When you golf course, it's slightly different, so do be aware of that. But yeah, 2.5 out of 5. Okay, okay. Moving on to feel. Feel I thought was quite nice. Wasn't offensive, even though it's a fully titanium head. It wasn't like screaming in my ears when I hit it, which you can sometimes get with a titanium head, such as ping. So feel 3.5 out of 5. Generally happy with it. Thought it felt quite nice. So yeah, nothing hugely to report about that. Miss hits, I did tend to tell where they were, but again, not a huge amount of feedback necessarily I expect from. I want to say a bigger brand, but Wilson is a very big brand. But I don't know, maybe it's your tailor-made or your, you know, my what's the Dark Speed, Cobra Dark Speed. There you go. Forgot the name of my driver then. Cobra Dark Speed. You know, just a little bit more feedback with that. Moving on to looks, 4 out of 5. I think it's a very good looking driver. For a forgiving driver as well, I think it's a good shape. Sometimes with these really big forgiving drivers, you know, that can be really elongated at the back. There's a little bit there, but nothing too offensive. And I do like the whole black and, you know, black and red looks. Very, very nice. So 4 out of 5 for that. Very happy with it. Forgiveness wise, this is the most forgiving driver that they do. You know, they say it's very forgiving, and that's what they sort of aim for. For me, there were some bad hits with it because, like I said, this is a little bit more flexible than I wanted, so I couldn't control the club head all the time. Unfortunately, sometimes I did lose it a little bit, so I really did test the forgiveness of this. You know, and we did have a few ball speed drops, which actually brought it down from that 146 because, you know, on average, really, it should have been that 148. You know, I had one that dropped down to 141 miles per hour, another one that dropped down to 143 miles per hour. However, distance wise, they still came out pretty well distance. You know, one was 244 yards total, another was 235 yards. So even though the ball speed dropped, I was still getting pretty decent distance. You know, one of them was still above the actual average. So relatively happy with that. So I'm giving the forgiveness of this, to be honest, I give it a 4.5. I'm giving it a 4.5. I think the forgiveness is exactly what it needs to do. It gets the ball up in the air, you know, you can adjust it. The forgiveness is good. So I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5 forgiveness. Is it as forgiving as a ping? No. Is it as forgiving as your new 10K drivers out there? No. But I think it's a very solid 4.5 out of 5. On another day, I might have gone for 4, but I'm just going to bump it up a little bit and give it that 4.5 out of 5. Now, price. So price, I'm actually giving this a 4 out of 5. So when it comes down to new drivers, I obviously look at the new price when you're buying it. Second hand, these actually hold their value pretty well. Like even now, you're still looking probably around that 200 mark for the titanium in the UK. It's £200, around $250. Second hand, so they do keep their price well, which is a good sign that it's actually quite a solid driver. You know, if suddenly you've got these brand new drivers flooding the second hand market, you've got to question, are they actually any good? But in this case, you know, it's quite hard to pick them up, so it's a good sign. But looking in, as I mentioned, when it comes down to new drivers, I always look for the new prices. For that, I'm giving it a 4 out of 5 because as a new driver, it's a lot cheaper than the rest. You know, UK, you can pick this up for £349 at the moment, brand new. So get yourself fitted, get the right shaft in it, because this is a premium shaft, don't get me wrong. It's just for this, for me, just a little bit too flexible, felt a little bit too light as well. But it is a good shaft, you know, good components in this, great looking driver, great forgiveness. So yeah, so £349 compared to the rest of them, absolute bargain. And in the US at the moment, so if you're watching this over in the States, on Wilson's website, they're selling this for under $300. There's quite a few actually at the moment where the UK market is actually a little bit higher than the US for some reason, but the US market, they're selling this for under $300. Now, they might be doing that because they might be releasing a new model at the end of this year, because it's normally a 2-year cycle with Wilson. Depends really. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But I think they're going to maybe release another one at the end of this year or into next year. So maybe they're trying to get rid of some old stock. So potentially, if you're watching this video in another month or two, you could be getting a great bargain. It could be even cheaper on this club. So 4 out of 5. Overall thoughts in this driver then. So forgiveness, I thought was really good. I didn't find it as joyous to hit as I hit like the D7. The D7 I loved and found it really fun to hit. Didn't necessarily find this as fun, maybe because this is a much more serious driver, I'd say, than the D7. Wilson really thrown a lot of technology into it and a lot of R&D into this driver. But forgiveness-wise, I think it's really, really good. It's a great cheap option out there for you guys with maybe the slower swing speed who want that forgiveness, want that draw bias driver. I think it is a great option. However, downfall for me is distance. I just don't think it's got the distance in there. Definitely not to perform against the big boys. And you probably could get yourself a draw bias driver, which is just as forgiving, which is probably better than this, and it goes a lot further. For example, the Sim 2 Max D, I think it's called. That you can still buy brand new at the moment, and I think it's like £240 in the UK, and like that sort of $300 mark in the US. So I'd go for that over this one personally. But overall, really solid driver. Do be aware of that dual bias though. For me, it did mean a lot of shots, which I didn't actually include in this, were way out left because of that dual bias. But it's also down to the shaft as well. So make sure perhaps to get a fitting with this one to really dial in those numbers, because they do have a good adjustability with it. Okay, so there you go, guys. There's my review of the Wilson Staff Dynapower Titanium driver. Overall, actually disappointed because of the distance. Disappointed with the distance. I really wanted to do this video and be like, this is the best thing ever. I love it. Distance is pretty good. Wasn't expecting it to be really long, but expecting it to be pretty good. But I just thought it let itself down on the distance personally. However, forgiveness was great. Looks, price, everything else is really good. So it is still a great option out there. But personally for me, I put my hands up because it was more fun to hit. I prefer the Wilson D7, the older model, to be fair, which is the model before the D9. It's just a lot funner to hit. But this does have all the adjustability in it, which you won't find in that D7. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like. Comment down below, do you play with the Wilson Staff Dynapower? Do let me know of, what your thoughts are. I'm going to try and pick up the carbon as well at one point to give that a go, because I do really want to give that one a go as well. So there you go. And remember to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell icon so you do not miss weekly ACS golf reviews and extra reviews and other type of videos as well, versus videos, etc., that come out, such as this review of this one. All right, guys, I'll see you soon for the next ACS golf video. All right, bye-bye.